Come to talk.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. China announces new tariffs against the U.S., increasing the rate to 125% on U.S. goods. AP's Charles de Ledesma reports.
The US and China have escalated their trade war by raising tariffs, even as President Donald Trump hit a pause on tariffs for other countries. A China Commerce Ministry spokesman says, announcing the countermeasure, the US alternately raising abnormally high tariffs on China has become a numbers game, which has no practical economic significance and will become a joke in the history of the world economy. The ministry adds it's filing another lawsuit with the World Trade Organization on the raising of US tariffs. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Questions are being raised about the president's buy tip on social media before announcing his 90-day tariff pause.
Stock prices had been plunging after President Trump unveiled his global tariff plans. But Wednesday morning, the president posted on Truth Social, in all caps, "This is a great time to buy DJT." Less than 4 hours later, Trump announced a 90-day pause on nearly all his tariffs, and stocks soared.
We need to get to the bottom of the possible stock manipulation.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
What, if any, advanced knowledge did members of the House Republican Conference have of Trump's decision?
The White House says the president has the right to reassure the markets.
The NTSB is investigating Thursday's helicopter crash in the Hudson River that killed the pilot and 5 Spanish tourists. Witness Bill Angel says she thought she saw lightning at first.
This can't be for real. And then we were crying, we were hugging each other when it hit the water. We were like, oh my God. And then we were scrambling. We were like, what do we do? Do we call 911? I mean, how can we get these people help?
Justin Green, an aviation lawyer, says video of the crash suggests a catastrophic mechanical failure left the pilot with no chance to save the helicopter. This is AP News. An immigration judge is set to decide today on the case of a Columbia University protester the Trump administration wants to deport. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia University Gaza war protester, could have his case terminated today. An immigration judge is set to decide on the Trump administration's charges against him. One of the former student's attorneys, Bahir Azmi, says there's a lot at stake.
This case is intentionally projecting a message of repression about who can say what in this country and the consequences to your liberty and your life if you object to U.S. policy.
The federal government submitted a brief memo citing the Trump administration's authority to expel non-citizens. They say letting him stay undermines U.S. policy to combat anti-Semitism.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high around 50 degrees. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 15. Then for tonight, mostly clear with a low near 35. Saturday, sunshine, a high around 60 degrees. Then by Sunday, a slight chance for rain, late cloudy, high of 67. Monday, slight chance for rain, high of 63. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 37.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes at Homes for Our Troops. And thanks to our donors and supporters, this life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans. But we need you to join us, too, in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
It's Chew Views with Richard Chew. Filling in today for Richard Chew. Co-host of the Family Meeting, event planner, and champion for democracy, Michelle Peltier.
Good morning, WCPT listeners. This is Michelle Peltier, sitting in one last day for Richard Chew. Can you tell I don't use my voice? I'm alone all the time. It's Friday, April 11th. Thank you for listening. especially to those who hung in with me all 3 days and those who are joining me for the first time today, and everybody in between. I appreciate it very much. How you doing, Henry?
I'm doing good. It's an early Friday morning, and the weekend's coming up. It's going to be great.
I know. And you look bootyful today.
No, you do.
You know, I love the hair. I love it. You made my day. I should take a picture of you before I leave. Is that bad?
No. That's fine.
You guys make sure to give us a call today. Wants to have some interesting conversations. I mean, I don't even know where to start, but give us a call at 773-763-9278. Catch us on Facebook Live, Twitter stream, and TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud.com, WCPT 820, Heartland Signal Digital Newsroom. Later on today, on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be taking your calls for the first hour or so, and then talking to Lakota Vogel, Executive Director of Four Bands Community Fund, along with Tammy Granados. I practiced that all night last night. I can't believe I stuttered. Film protagonist in the documentary From Hope to Home, What We Came Here For. Joan will also be joined by Philip Braun, Clinical Professor of Finance at Northwestern Kellogg, and Michael Kelly, Professor of Law at Creighton University in Omaha. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m. Central on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. I'm excited. We've had some really good guests this week. I hope that you thought so as well. And to end the week, we have two more. We have our resident podcaster and activist, Karen Byrne, who will be here at 6:30. And then at 7:30, we'll be joined by Dr. Lionel Allen Jr., a leadership coach and educational consultant, also a friend of the Family Meeting radio show on Sundays from 4 to 6 on WCPT. Our beloved Richard will be back in his rightful chair on Monday morning. I wish we had sound effects. Like I said, I don't know where to start today. I have clips about these deportations, and I really want to talk about that. But I also want to mention, and maybe you know when this happened. It was recent when J.D. Vance called Chinese people peasants. I mean, come on. These people are just awful. Just nothing good about any of them. That's why they gather, though. That's why the whole administration is like that. What did I say yesterday? Water rises to its own level. And so, for us to be surprised, I mean, I still am, but I'm trying to calm down because it's just, at this point, it's not worth it. So, excuse me. Today, we have an update on one in particular deportation. But before I do that, I want to demonstrate how this administration feels about this whole process. Henry, can we play clip 1 and 7? Thank you.
Of the law. These gang members are going back to where they came, or they're going to an El Salvador prison at your directive.
16 Minutes found that 75% of the immigrants who were sent to El Salvador do not have public criminal records. Is that true?
Do you mean in our country?
The Venezuelan migrants who were sent to...
Okay, well, they're not Venezuelan migrants. They're illegal aliens from Venezuela who should not have been in our country, who are committing the most violent crimes. So if you committed a murder in our country, we're going to keep you here, and we're going to seek the death penalty, and we're going to keep you in prison because our victims' families deserve that. But we don't have to charge them with every crime. We can deport them and get them out of our country and save room in our prisons because they should have never been in our country to begin with.
So you confirm they didn't commit a crime?
Thank you.
Right? Is that what you're
They are so aggressive, aren't they? Oh, my gosh.
And just mask off at this point.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even trying to hide it.
They're not. They're so nasty. So that leads me to the story of yesterday. Immigration agents arrested Abrigo Garcia, 29, on March 12th after pulling him over in an IKEA parking lot near his home in Beltsville, Maryland, about half an hour outside of Washington. Officials contend he is a member of the MS-13 criminal gang, although they have presented no evidence to back that claim. Yesterday, the Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration to begin the process of releasing Mr. Garcia, who they mistakenly deported to El Salvador. I'm going to take issue with mistakenly, because they didn't mistakenly do anything. They just took the dude out of his car. Whew. Anyway, in an unsigned order issued late Thursday, the High Court said the U.S. must facilitate the release of Mr. Garcia and ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not improperly been sent to El Salvador, kidnapped. The justices didn't exactly say what Mr. Garcia's release from custody will look like, of course, or how he can get back to the U.S. Instead, they sent the case back to U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes, I know I mispronounced that, of Maryland, who last week ordered the administration to bring Mr. Garcia back to the United States. And there we have it. Let me tell you, what's my question? My question is, do you think they'll do it? You think they'll bring him back?
Like, they have to, in quotes, but like, will they act? I'm not confident.
See, I don't think they will. I mean, I know they have to. They know they have to. They know they shouldn't have taken him in the first place. They just want to get rid of all black and brown people at this point.
I mean, what else can anyone think at this point?
Right. It's just
all they're presenting.
Yeah. It's just crazy. Oh, it's Pam. Let's talk to Pam. Take a call. Hi, Pam. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. I'm good. How are you? I'm actually great.
I know. I tell people I'm better. Overall, I'm well because I'm thankful that I'm alive and breathing. But you still are always concerned about what's going on in the world.
Yes.
And so that's my perspective. Michelle, we're dealing with bullies.
Oh, my gosh, yes, Pam.
We're dealing with an administration of bullies. Mm-hmm. And I'm not quite sure if the Democratic Party and others are prepared to do what has to be done to a bully. You can no longer tell me how much respect I need to have for the office or for the person that is in it. Right now, that is just null and void for me.
Yep.
And so as we deal with what's happening now, the Democratic Party has to learn how to use more aggressive words, more descriptive words. And I understand trying to be, collegial, right?
Yes.
But I guess time out for that, because right now...
What do you say, Pam? Time out for that?
Time out for that. I mean, we really need a new strategy, and it has to be, a pushback and fight back. Michelle, but I want to say, moving forward, I'm going to just transition to voting.
Okay.
Because, I'm hearing everybody move forward. What's the next election? We had a success in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. I'm thankful for that. Mm-hmm. But as we look throughout the rest of the states and what's coming up next, in the federal elections, Greg Palast has the evidence out there.
Yes.
He laid it out on Tom Hartman's show mm-hmm. and many other shows on WCPT and other stations. Mm-hmm. He's 3.56 million voters mm-hmm. were purged from the rolls.
Yes.
Given those provisional ballots that, weren't counted. They were disqualified, right? Those Nazi saluting minions that Musk paid off,
mm-hmm.
right? And challenged people at the rolls. And then those who were just totally eliminated from the rolls altogether. Yeah. Legal voters. What is the Democratic leadership saying about that?
Actually, I haven't heard much about that, Pam.
And I'm going to keep, as a matter of fact, Michelle, I might have to dedicate, I'm not a wealthy person, but I might have to dedicate some money trying to put some type of ad in papers or on the radio, because I'm not going to let her die.
Well, Pam, what kind of social media are you on?
I don't really do a lot of social media.
Well,
You know what? It's interesting you said that. Someone invited me to do a podcast with them. And, you know, I really don't do a lot of social media, Michelle. But I may have to start.
Pam,
it's nothing but to press this issue. Yes.
Let me tell you this. You must do it. You know what? I don't particularly enjoy it. And unfortunately, I'm now addicted to my phone and I cannot hardly put it down. But I will tell you, it is important. That's the best way for you to get your word out. So you need to get on Facebook. You need to get on, I hate to say it, but Twitter. You need to get on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. You need to do all of it. That's the way your word will get spread much faster. Get spread much faster.
This may push me to do it. But,
I want you to.
But I just wanted to lay that out because they created an insurrection. They started an insurrection based on a lie about he won the election. And we can't fight for the truth. The voters who wanted to vote and couldn't because they were purged, that has to be important enough for us to take a stand on. But these bullies, you remember Doge, I call it Department of Grifting Everybody. You remember he said that, I do, DOGE. This is the biggest grift.
I'm writing that down.
Michelle, I like movies about grifting and just to show how con artists work. So, I don't like, but just the movies that show that. So they are, and there was a movie called The Grifters.
I was going to talk about that today.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, let's do it real quick before we go to break.
Okay.
I love that movie.
But we've got to push back. We've got to fight back. And as I said, they're calling people parasites, right? Now, vermin. Remember he called people vermin.
Yep.
And now peasants.
Yep. Oh, my gosh.
See where this is going. And it's just a matter of time before they will pick up and disappear at one of our relatives.
It's true. It's true. So, Pam, before I let you go, let me suggest one more thing to you.
Sure.
If you like getting out, I really encourage you to get involved in your county or your city Democratic or ward group. You can look them up online. You need to start getting involved in those groups. You need to start speaking up like you're speaking up to me today on this call.
I do.
And
I do.
And join your social media. And I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna have Henry get your number because I want to stay in touch with you and keep track of you because I want you to start doing this thing because you're passionate about it and you're the kind of person that we need out here in the world speaking truth to power. Okay?
Well, I have no problem with that. And we'll talk about that. But I am going to, like I said, I'm not a wealthy person.
You don't have to be.
I know, but I'm in this fight, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
And I say that only because, Michelle, there are people who are wealthy, who have a national platform, and they're silent. And that is shameful.
It's very shameful. I agree with you 100%.
That is shameful.
Yep.
There's people who have great wealth. I see what the billionaires and millionaires on that side of the aisle are doing. I can't see, Michelle, what are our billionaires and millionaires on this side of the aisle, the right side? What are they doing?
You know what? We only really have a couple that are politically active. And, we can't force people to do something with their money that they're unwilling to do. So we have to take up that space, whether we have money or whether we don't, So
I agree.
I'm so happy that you started the show today, Pam. You are wonderful.
Yes.
You're going to talk to me
more.
I'm
about the fight back and the pushback. Never give up.
Yep.
Never, ever give up.
Yep.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank
have
you,
a great
Pam.
day.
You have a good weekend, okay?
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, let's take a quick break, shall we?
Hey, progressives, this is Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views here on WCPT AM 820, 6 to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. We have some real challenges in front of us as a country. Since the beginning of this show, I have always felt compelled to bring you the best that I've got. Now, there's always a why to doing whatever we do. So as we go forward and face these challenges, know this, you listeners are my why, because I want to make sure I do everything I can to provide a safe, open, forward-moving space that allows you to call, email, text, or just listen to a guy that wants to help you bring out your own championship qualities to truly make this place better for us all. Lofty goal, idealistic, maybe so. But that's my why, and I look forward to bringing you the best that I've got. This is Richard Chu. Stay tuned.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
It's Chu's Views with Richard Chu. Filling in for Richard Chu, it's none other than the one and only Michelle Peltier.
Welcome back and good morning, everybody. 773-763-9278. Catch us on Facebook Live, Twitter stream, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud.com/WCPT 820, and the Heartland Signal Digital Newsroom. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be talking to Sarah Vogel, Senior Vice President of Healthy Communities at the Environmental Defense Fund, and Mike Nellis, founder and CEO of the Chicago-based political fundraising and consulting firm Authentic. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays from 5 to 7 Central on WCPT 820 AM, the Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Listen, I don't think I've heard that, I guess we'll call it an ad from Richard about my why. Oh my gosh. Shut up, Richard. That was beautiful. Waking up with my why. You guys know how lucky you are every Monday through Friday. You are his why. Oh my God, I cannot. That is just the sweetest thing. We have a call. Let's take Jim. Hi, Jim from Chicago.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was just thinking, good morning. I was just thinking the economic theory of the Republicans isn't an economic theory at all. No. I don't think anybody, since Adam Smith to John Kenneth Galbraith to John Maynard Keynes, I never saw anything, an economic theory that they'd even describe this as an economic theory. And you've got this guy, this nut, Peter Navarro, who that's his name, Peter Navarro. Anyway, the old jailbird. He's taking this from AI, I guess, artificial intelligence. He's got some character that he quotes that actually doesn't exist at all. Only in only in the mind of some computer. But that's horrible enough. Then, real quick, I don't want to take up too much time. But the Gestapo, with these private prisons and the ICE. How many ICE are there? What are there, thousands of them?
I don't know.
There are thousands of ICE. In fact, I was at the store, the local store, the deli. Oh, he says, yeah, an ICE truck was out here a few hours ago. I'm like, well, they're everywhere, But it's not funny because you think America, I never lived in America that would be like that. And the other thing is, how about everybody having to prove that you're a citizen at the voting booth? So in other words, you got to take a DNA test.
Pretty much.
Yeah. You have to take a swab of your mouth, and then you have to go through a thing and say, "Oh yeah, you are what 3/3 American and 1/3." 1/3 Democrat, and then you'd be disqualified immediately.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, have a great morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
So I read this yesterday, Henry, and I didn't write it down, but Jim made me think of it. The was it the head of the Department of Education? Who's the WWF or the? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I was going to say I forgot her name, but I know that it's like the co-founder, co-president, co-owner, whatever, of the WWE, WWF, whatever.
Okay, so she was giving a speech the other day, and instead of saying, she was talking about AI, she was saying A1. the whole time.
Our country's run by idiots.
I have they're just so bad. I have a post here from Congressman Eugene, what was his name? I wrote it down because I can't see it on here. He's from Representative Vindman. And this is what he said, because this is crazy, because it's true. It's been 18 days since we learned that those involved in Signalgate recklessly endangered the lives of American pilots. The fact that there has been no congressional investigation is an abomination. This should outrage every single member of Congress. And he posted that yesterday. It's just, they're just, what's fascinating to me? I used to think when I was younger, what if I just don't do these things? What would happen? I'm an ordinary average person, but I'd probably go to jail. But why do people follow the law? This whole administration is going to have everybody questioning all of that, right? It's insane. Speaking of insanity, do we have the clip from, let's see, 7 with Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett?
Like, the fact that no one is questioning his mental acuity or fitness to serve is beyond wild to me, right? Like, the fact that they sat around, called Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe Biden, and as I said before, at least you could sleep at night because you didn't have to worry about your 401k disappearing overnight. You didn't have to worry about these allegations of fake invasions. You didn't have to worry about the cost of food just skyrocketing or skyrocketing cost of all of your electronics. The fact that Apple was flying in planes of iPhones before the tariffs hit, like, this is crazy work for no reason. So, I just hope that people remember, because seemingly they got amnesia the first time. And so you've got opportunities to vote. And I will tell you that every single special election we've had, Democrats are swinging no less than 15 points. But honestly, we should be swinging 30 and 40 points because of the level of incompetence and harm that this administration is bringing upon all of us.
Okay, that's my girl right there. I love me some Jasmine Crockett. I tell you, there are a lot of young people. The young guy that's in the band, do you know who he is? I can't remember. He's an African-American guy. He plays the guitar. He's very cool.
Is it like an elected official?
Yeah, he's a congressman.
Oh,
do you
actually,
know
I
what I'm
don't.
talking about? I'm sorry, I guess I can't talk to her yet. No.
No, Malcolm.
No. I'll look it up. I'll find it. But so there's some young ones. There's more than just AOC and Jasmine Crockett. They're good. They're talented. They're vocal, but they don't get as much attention. And maybe we should focus on them more than all this bad stuff. I should have said that to myself last night while I was doing the work for the show. Because now I got a whole other negative stuff, and darn it. Well, hopefully Richard will ask me back when he leaves again, and I can continue that in about 3 or 4 months. Okay, Henry, our beloved Karen is here, so let's take a break, and we'll come right back, okay? Thanks. Look at you.
Thanks to our loyal WCPT listeners, the WCPT 20th anniversary broadcast is officially sold out. But you can still enjoy the broadcast by listening to WCPT Radio on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Hal Sparks will kick things off at 11 a.m., then hand it off to WCPT hosts Richard Chu, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and Scott Duff at 1 o'clock. Surprise guests from WCPT's 20-year history will also join us. Scroll through 20 years of WCPT Radio with with legendary interviews, shows, and pictures on the WCPT 820 website. WCPT's live broadcast is sponsored by Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook, Fazio Insurance, Smart 265, Kane County Dems, Southland Friends of Labor, Democratic Party of McHenry County, and McHenry County Democratic Women. It's the WCPT 20th Anniversary live broadcast Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Only on WCPT 820, Chicago's only progressive talk radio station for 20 years.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high around 50 degrees. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 15. Then for tonight, mostly clear with a low near 35. Saturday, sunshine, a high around 60 degrees. Then by Sunday, a slight chance for rain, late cloudy, high of 67. Monday, slight chance for rain, high of 63. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 38.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM. Filling in for Richard Chu, it's Michelle Peltier.
Good morning and welcome back, everybody. 773-763-9278. Let's call the number. Catch us on Facebook Live, Twitter Stream, and TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud.com, WCPT 820, Heartland Signal Digital Newsroom, and we are back. Tomorrow on The Big Picture, Edwin Eisenbrath will be joined by award-winning columnist Holly McCall of the Tennessee Lookout News site, David Roberts of the Volts newsletter and podcast, which focuses on the technology, politics, and policy of decarbonization. I might listen to that. And economist Dean Baker, co-founder of the Center of Economic Policy and Research. The Big Picture, Saturdays from 1 to 4 Central on WCPT 820. Now, this will be the second time that I've wanted to have sound effects with applause. You do have some? Oh, let's go give some applause for our next guest coming up, Miss Karen Byrne. Yay!
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank
Welcome,
you for
my
having
dear.
me in.
Of course. I didn't want to upset the routine. I mean, I would have missed you if you didn't come.
Yeah, I know. I like having the face-to-face.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think it's really important.
I do too.
Yeah.
And it's easier to talk.
Yes.
I could touch you.
Exactly. And then we don't talk over each other because we have the visual.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So let's get started. Tell me what's going on. What's moving you today?
Well, what is moving me today? First of all, I'm going to use the adjective of abhorrent to describe these people. Mm-hmm. So obviously the situation with the deportations, mass deportations, and 75% no public record of any criminal conduct, and so this is how it happens.
Have you seen the pictures?
Yeah,
of the prison?
It's disgusting. It's absolutely abhorrent. Mm-hmm. Like, that is the word that comes to mind. And it's heartbreaking. And it brings me to tears because, and that absolute horrific hell beast, I think I can use that word. Christy Nome standing there in her cosplay in front. That just infuriates me.
Did you hear all the gun owners talking so bad about her because she was holding the gun wrong because it was aimed at his head and they had clips in the guns?
I posted it on Blue Sky. Yes, Pam, come over to Blue Sky. Okay, I resist. No, but yeah, and I posted that photo.
Blue Sky.
Well, we will find each other. Mm-hmm. But so she was standing there, with that picture, with the, and somebody commented, and she's got the boom boom side of the gun pointed right at his head. And I was like, exactly. And then I think Ruben Gallego did that video, talking
That's
about
what I saw. Yeah.
But, but really specifically the photo of her, or the video that they did of her standing in front of the prisoners in El Salvador. was so disgusting. And the idea, I mean, think about this. They shaved their heads, put the hair in a bag, made them strip down, and put their clothes in that bag as well. Now, that is some Nazi garbage going on.
Yeah.
And we cannot turn away from that. I mean, I am fully in the camp of we have got to, touch grass, take our breaks, do some self-care, but we have to be in the fight however you can. And, when you were speaking with Pam, I was driving in, and 100%, I am in agreement that Black folks can sit this out. You know what I mean? As far as like getting in the streets.
Oh, for sure.
It
We're not
is
doing
for
it.
real. Yeah.
I mean, the best example was Saturday.
Yeah.
I tell you, just if I may, I think I said this Wednesday, but it's the most, how can I describe it? It was the most organic, non-movement movement with us, my people, that I've ever been a part of. There were no meetings. There were no, there was nothing really hard about, I don't want to say hard, but orchestrated.
Right.
Right. It was purely organic. Right. People, I think, in a moment, maybe everybody, November 6th, after the election, we were just like, I'm not doing it.
Right.
I'm done.
Absolutely.
And so that warmed my heart. What else warmed my heart? People like you who absolutely understood it.
I get it. I totally get it. And for me, I want you safe. Yeah. I mean, really, because I understand that just based off of skin color, they will automatically target you. I get that.
Yeah.
And for me too, I always think about how do people, based off of their skin color, their gender, move through this world.
It's not easy.
And for me, I know as a woman, I move through my day differently than a man would, right? We're constantly thinking about where the attack is coming from,
For
right?
sure.
I mean, that
I am.
Right.
Because I'm a single woman.
Yeah.
And I'm old now.
No,
I have learned to be always aware.
Yes.
I mean, I only wear one thing in my ear if I'm walking on the street. I keep my keys in my hand.
Yeah.
I'm always looking because I walk almost everywhere.
Yes.
And I've been doing that since I came into the world, basically.
Yeah.
Because my mother was like, you must be aware.
Absolutely.
All of the time. And
My
it just
mom,
becomes
too.
part of you.
I remember when I was really little. I mean, not really little, not like a toddler.
Right.
But I'm going to say, and this really stuck out in my mind because there was a young girl who was, I'm going to say we were about the same age. And I'm going to say I was probably about 8 years old. And it might seem a little shocking to some people listening, but my mom was reading the Oak Leaves because I grew up in Oak Park. And she said, "Oh my God." And I just saw her face, like she gasped. And I said, what happened? She goes, "There was an 8-year-old girl in Oak Park that was raped."
Oh no.
And I was like, "Well, what does that mean?" I didn't know, what that meant. And she explained it, what that meant.
Yeah.
And
to
it was
scare the bejeebus out of you so that you wouldn't go outside by yourself.
Right. And I mean, and it seemed like, somebody else listening to that would be like, why are you saying that to your 8-year-old daughter? But that is the reality. And we have to be dealing in reality.
Yeah.
Because the reality is now they are disappearing people. They are scooping people up. And for me, and I understand that my calculation in this world and how I move through this world and enter rooms and spaces and everything is different than the way you probably have to.
When did you have that realization about the differences between you and I, both being women?
I would say that I've been very lucky because I was raised in a very liberal household and my parents fought for open housing in Oak Park and et cetera, et cetera. And that's not for extra credit or, whatever.
Sure.
But that's just kind of how I was raised. So I was always raised, and I'm kind of an empath anyway. And so I've always tried to put myself in other people's positions,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never tolerated any kind of cruelty or meanness or, making people the butt of the joke.
Sure.
I've always stood up for
Good for
that,
you.
even when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And again, no extra credit. I think that that's what we all should be doing.
Absolutely.
I will say, and if for anybody that has not seen it, Starz put it out. It originally was out on Starz, America to Me. And it's a great documentary about my alma mater, Oak Park River Forest High School. And it was actually filmed when my youngest, Liam, was still there. And they speak about the differences, about how, students are treated racially differently. And, and of course on Facebook, I have a lot of friends from that time and Black friends from that time. And I was at that, when I was there, moving through and saying, hey, we're a diverse community. And, but it was very much segregated.
Sure. Very
segregated as far as like people, because students would gather in spaces. And there was, the Black kids would kind of, I think it was on the second floor, and then like what we called the Marios, the ones that had the Italian jackets and the horns and everything, they would be gathering. So, and then the burnouts were all out on the mall.
You were a burnout?
Yes. I was a little bit of a little bit. Not at school, okay? I never at school.
I love that.
But anyway, that was me. But anyway, so it wasn't a hard place for me to go in my mind and accept that the place that I thought I knew wasn't that way. Mm-hmm. And what really was the moment that stood out to me in this documentary was this young Black girl who was talking about how her white counterparts enter spaces and how they carry themselves. And it's just like they speak, and I know I do it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They move in and they speak, and they kind of fill up the space differently. Mm-hmm. Whereas she felt that, the way she entered a space was much more kind of like sussing the situation out. Mm-hmm. And I do have empathy for that, because if you can believe it, I'm a little bit of an introvert.
Shut up.
Initially, like when I get into a group and I don't know anybody, it's kind of takes me, I have to like kind of survey, and I dip my toe and kind of see. But having said that, so that was the moment that I was like, oh my gosh, she articulated it like exactly the way it needed to be said. Yeah. And it was just, it really, I was like, yes, I get that. And I see that.
Yeah. I tell you, I've said this before, my personal motto is changing the world one conversation at a time.
Yeah.
And I really mean that. Mm-hmm. But the conversation has to be real. It can't be, I'm going to sit here and wait so I can get my point across and not really receive what it is you're saying to me. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't receive each other's communication, we're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
And I am convinced, I totally believe that this country's never going to change unless we really do an excavation of why it looks the way it looks. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be tough. Anybody who's been in therapy, I'm a firm believer in therapy, but that's hard.
Yep.
It's not easy to take a deep dive into yourself, look at all of the things that you've done wrong, all of the things that you need to do better, how you can be a better person. That's hard because you have to look at the ugly inside.
Yep.
And that's what the country doesn't want to do. And that's why they're doing all this rewashing of whitewashing of history and taking down, symbols and pictures. And it's crazy. They want to act like slavery and racism and, like sexism, that doesn't exist.
Right.
And it's the cornerstone of our country.
Right.
I never thought that before until after this election.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I always, and I talk about this on the family meeting, I always thought that everything was fair. If you did everything right, you heard me say this, that you could go somewhere, get ahead, and that's not really true.
No. No, I know. And I think it is that realization. I think that was all mixed up in the aftermath of the election. And I mean, I'm with Pam. I think something went down. I mean, I do not agree with that this was won fair and square. I don't
either, you know, and it's amazing to us that I feel like I have to whisper
I know,
that.
right? Because somehow, we're crazy conspiracy. That's a crazy conspiracy. Yeah. But it is. And I was profoundly disappointed in our Democratic leadership that they weren't bringing that up as even a possibility when we know, I mean, we had a whole investigation on 2016 about Russian involvement. Why is it such a stretch? And then with bomb threats being called in, and then Elon Musk's company being a part of the swing state counts? Come on now.
I mean, every swing state.
We're not Boo-Boo the Fool, as Francis Angela says.
Girl, shut up. Did I say I love you right now? I love you right now. Boo-Boo the Fool.
We're not. So, I feel like getting back to the, aftermath, it was like this realization and, heartbreak. Because, again, another woman was cheated.
Girl.
Another woman was cheated, and for me too, profound, even more so a woman of color.
Yeah.
That really got me because I just
Yeah. You know what makes my head pop off? When I hear people say, well, she didn't say, she didn't do. Come on. Really?
You know what? Men are never held to that standard, and
never.
It's never. Yeah.
But she did not do that, though.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I'm saying? She said she did everything.
The gaslighting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love Tom Hartman, and one day on his show, he said, "Where is Kamala Harris?" And I was like, "I'm getting ready to call in."
Yes, and he needs to hear that, though. I mean, really, because no, you don't get to ask that question.
Nobody does.
Nobody does.
Yep, and we love Tom Hartman over here. We do,
of course, absolutely. We love the entire lineup.
I know.
Here at WCPT 820 AM.
Thank you, Henry. Let's take a little break, shall we? You're going to come back with us, right, Karen? You're going to be with us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere.
Good. Okay, we'll be right back.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose You with Richard Chew. Filling in for Richard Chew, it's none other than Michelle Peltier.
Thank you, Devin. He does a good job with that. Welcome back, everybody. 773-763-9278. Catch us on Facebook, Live, Twitter, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud.com, Heartland Signal Digital Newsroom. Monday at this time, Richard will be back. Yay! At the mic, and his guest will be Sarah Jones, managing editor and co-publisher of Politicus USA, and Rich Logis and Jason Riddle of Leaving MAGA. Now, he's had, have you heard those people before, the Leaving MAGA people?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so fascinated by them. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that conversation.
I do. I appreciate it. I would say the way I feel is even with like some of the never Trumpers. Mm-hmm. That's great. Mm-hmm. I'm glad y'all came to this realization, and I'm glad that you're getting help for yourselves, but you don't get to tell us.
I was hoping there was a but.
Yeah, but you don't get to tell us how we should be doing things, and that we can't, be angry at you.
At you.
Yeah.
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 I mean, excuse me, with all due respect,
Yeah,
right?
with all due respect and with
Yep.
respect, because that is not an easy thing to do, to admit that, that
they're doing some excavation.
They're doing some excavation, and so that's good. Welcome to the party.
Yes.
And you got to keep doing that, self-help and do a little, reflection on what you did.
Yeah.
And like my mom always did, you go over there, and I want you to think about what you did. And that's the way I feel about them. That's okay. That's great.
I love it. You want to take some calls?
Sure.
Okay. I think we have Leo from South Carolina on the line. Good morning, Leo.
Good morning. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Doing all right. Heading into work. I just wanted to take a minute to try to defend Tom Hartman on his question about Kamala Harris.
Sure.
I don't know if it's Kamala specific, but a lot of us have been asking the question, really since 2016, but definitely since the last election. Where is the Democratic outrage? Where is the Democratic leadership? What are we doing to defend democracy? Believe me, I understand both the African-American perspective and the women's perspective of we would rather choose an orange fascist than a non-white, non-male. And like everybody is disgusted by that. But on top of being disgusted, like what are we doing to fight it? What are we doing to defend what we thought we knew?
You have some comments.
And
Karen.
I'm sorry?
I think Karen.
Yeah, well, no, finish your your point. Yeah.
Well, that is my point, and it's not like I said, it's not just directed at Kamala Harris. Was it Cory Booker who just did the 25-hour speech?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, but what did you defend? Like, what did you filibuster? You didn't filibuster Pete Hegseth. You didn't filibuster I'm from South Carolina. Tom Thurmond is a stain on me just as much as a stain on him.
Right.
But you didn't take him down because you did a 25-hour speech.
Right.
You didn't filibuster segregation. He still stands for evil, and he still holds that title.
Yeah.
But we need that energy to stop these nominations. We need that energy over
the CR. The CR and the spending.
Name it. I mean, anything. I want more. And I called in when Joe Biden said he was stepping down and Kamala Harris was coming in. You are going to be painted as the angry black woman, but damn it, that's what we need. We need hair on fire politics because we're like our democracy is burning. Yeah, we need Jasmine Crockett. I want a whole bunch of her. I love AOC, but AOC is still too polite. We need to match. We need to match morons.
Call it out and use language that we can relate to. I agree. I'm not going to disagree with any of that, honestly, because I kind of felt the same way. I love Cory, and I think that I do think that it was important to do something like that to kind of. It did get a lot of people's attention, but it has to go beyond just fundraising. Text messages after that, and
I want to see. I want to see every Democrat in front of every camera after everything, and if we have to have like a shadow government,
that's right.
To where every time there's a topic of yours that comes up, you get on the Capitol steps.
Yep.
And you go outrage. Now, there's a lot of local politicians that are doing the right thing, but there's just not enough federal Democrats that are standing in the way.
Leo,
I think that's...
Yeah, I think you're giving some really good points. I want to ask you a question because you sound like you're very aware and you know what's going on and you're passionate. What are you doing to help get engaged? I mean, engage everybody else. Are you on social media? What are you doing?
Well, I am on social media. I've been, I was raised by a Midwest hippie. I've been, before I knew what it was, I was raised a liberal.
Okay.
I am anti-gun. I was defund the police. I marched with Black Lives Matter in New Hampshire.
Nice.
And then I said, it's not enough. I'm tired of hearing about the bad apple, so I became a cop.
Wow.
And I'm telling, I'm in schools now, and I constantly tell kids, get involved. The system is bad. But you're the one who's going to have to fix it.
Yeah. Do you think? Can I ask a question? Because this is always because I have kids, and now they're, oh my God, my oldest is 30, and then I've got steps that are older. But anyway, but what I always say is, because I hear this, the third party talk, and obviously we all know with the Electoral College that's not feasible, and as evidenced by Jill Stein. Stepping out of the shadows and, every 4 years. But, what I say to my kids is like, there's two buses, and this is just the reality of it. There's two buses. There's a blue bus and there's a red bus. Okay, the red bus is going to take you way far afield. Okay, and the blue bus is going to get you as closer to your destination, at least. So which one do you want to be on? And once you're on that bus, you can change the route. Yeah. You can change the route and you can change the destination. And that's what I tell my kids. And I don't disagree. I think that, we have the White House correspondent, the pool, and he's only letting certain people come in. Okay, so I'm going to have on our podcast, we're going to have Brian Karam on our podcast, and he's one of those press corps members that have been exiled. Yeah, and I suggested to him that all of you people that are not in the room should be getting with the Democrats and covering daily press conferences. Oh, please. Right? You know what I mean? Like every day, have a press conference and put your strongest messengers out there. And but I wanted to say too, I don't know if you're aware, on Midas Touch, they are doing, and the Democrats are going to do more of this, the shadow hearings. They're doing shadow hearings now. That would be amazing. Yeah, so they just did one the other day.
But that's...
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, they just did one the other day on the corruption of Trump's DOJ. And they had people testifying. The fired lawyer, I think, what was she, pardon attorney, and a few other people that have been summarily dismissed.
Very good. Leo, I want to say something to you really quick before we go, because we have another call.
Yes, ma'am.
You're a police officer, and you said you're going to schools. And let me just tell you, that's how we do it. Everybody's not going to be, on a radio show. Everybody's not going to be in Congress. And people like you, I mean, seriously, I am so happy, and I want you to help bring other people along to do those kinds of things with you, because the children are not being taught any of this stuff. No civics, no anything.
Yeah, I'm in South Carolina. Tell me about it.
So I appreciate you, Leo. Thank you so much for calling. And you stay safe. Seriously, you be safe. And call back anytime. Okay, have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Leo. I love that. Do we have time for one more?
Let's get it after the break.
Okay. Okay, everybody. Karen, we're going to take a break real quick. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. After working several odd jobs in New York City, Henry Johnson found his way into the National Guard during World War I. Johnson was assigned to the 369th Infantry Regiment, but the all-black unit was better known as the Harlem Hellfighters. The Hellfighters' first task was assisting the French Fourth Army. On May 15, 1918, Hellfighter Johnson noticed Germans attempting to break in. Johnson retreated to get backup from the French troops, noticing German soldiers were attempting to kidnap another Hellfighter. Despite standing at only 5'4", Johnson sprung into action. With only 3 bullets and a bolo knife, Johnson was able to kill 4 enemy soldiers and wounded 21 others, causing them to retreat, saving himself and his men. However, Johnson received a total of 21 injuries all over his body, including his left foot being shattered. Johnson was discharged, and his papers did not show his heroism or his injury, leaving him unable to receive any disability compensation, leaving Johnson penniless at the time of his death at age 36. Johnson's heroism went unnoticed for decades until President Barack Obama awarded him the Medal of Honor in 2015.
Steel, walk behind, zero turn, and stand-on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow.
U.S., this time increasing the rate to 125%.
The U.S. and China have escalated their trade war by raising tariffs, even as President Donald Trump hit a pause on tariffs for other countries. A China Commerce Ministry spokesman says, announcing the countermeasure, the U.S. alternately raising abnormally high tariffs on China has become a numbers game, which has no practical economic significance and will become a joke in the history of the world economy. The ministry adds it's filing another lawsuit with the World Trade Organization on the raising of U.S. tariffs. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The NTSB is investigating Thursday's helicopter crash in the Hudson River. The flight lasted less than 18 minutes before plunging into the waters and killing the pilot and 5 Spanish tourists. Witness Belle Angel says she and others thought they saw lightning before they saw the helicopter spiral downwards.
We started screaming because we were like, is this really happening? We just couldn't believe it. We were like, is this for real? This can't be for real.
An immigration judge is set to decide today on the case of a university protester the Trump administration wants to deport. AP's Julie Walker reports.
Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia University Gaza war protester, could have his case terminated today. An immigration judge is set to decide on the Trump administration's charges against him. One of the former student's attorneys, Bahir Azmi, says there's a lot at stake.
This case is intentionally projecting a message of repression about who can say what in this country and the consequences to your liberty and your life if you object to U.S. policy.
The federal government submitted a brief memo citing the Trump administration's authority to expel non-citizens. They say letting him stay undermines U.S. policy to combat anti-Semitism.
This is AP News. A woman in Australia gave birth to the baby of strangers following an embryo mix-up.
The embryo mix-up was discovered in February when the clinic found that the birth parents had one too many embryos in storage. In a statement on Friday, the provider Monash IVF says staff in the clinic had discovered an embryo from another patient who had been mistakenly thawed and transferred to the birth mother. Minister for Social Services Amanda Rishworth tells Australia's Today Show news programme the mix-up had hit her personally.
As someone that had a baby through IVF, it absolutely breaks my heart, and I cannot imagine the distress that this family or families are going through.
Rishworth added, we need to see if these clinics' regulations are up to scratch. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
I'm Marcela
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high around 50 degrees. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 15. Then for tonight, mostly clear with a low near 35. Saturday, sunshine, a high around 60 degrees. Then by Sunday, a slight chance for rain, late cloudy, high of 67. Monday, slight chance for rain, high of 63. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 37.
Lowe's is the destination for Ego outdoor power equipment this spring. See what's new and exclusive, like the 17-inch string trimmer with Line IQ technology that auto-feeds to save you time, and the 22-inch Select Cut self-propelled mowers with a multi-blade system for precise cutting. Shop Ego Days, happening now during Spring Fest at Lowe's. We help, you save. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
It's Chew's Views. Filling in for Richard Chew, it's Michelle Peltier.
Are we back?
Yeah.
I didn't hear. You guys missed a fantastic conversation during the break. Come on now, Karen. Ooh, okay, I'm supposed to read something. Okay. 773-763-9278. Catch us on Facebook Live, Twitter, Stream, and TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud.com, Heartland Signal Digital Newsroom. Just a reminder, both the Choose Views featured interviews and full episodes of his podcast are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Amazon. Search for Choose Views or get the links on Richard's show page by visiting heartlandsignal.com and clicking on Richard's picture. Today's full episode will be, you don't need to look at that one, but you can look at Monday and Tuesday. Don't bother with Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Come on. Fantastic.
Okay. I wanted to ask you a question, but let's take a call for a minute because Maury's been on for a minute. Maury from Highland Park, good morning.
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much for taking my call.
Of course. Thank you for calling.
No, I'm afraid, though, you may regret it after we talk. Okay?
I have backup here, so I'm good.
No, let me put it this way. I've been a Democrat for 45 years. Literally 45 years I've been voting Democrat. Mm-hmm. And I think as a party, we are overlooking the most obvious deficiency in the way we're going to get the things done we'd like to get done. Mm. And that is, we don't have strategies that are going to win elections. Not anymore. Mm. We've now, and listen, and I want you to know this. I agree with everything you're saying, but more importantly, we have to find ways to win elections to make any of these things happen. Sure. Otherwise, it's just parlor talk. It's just gabbing back and forth about what we'd like to see happen, knowing it's not realistic. And let me tell you why. George Bush Senior famously said, we have to nominate the most conservative electable Republican. Mm-hmm. Not the most conservative Republican. He said, what does it help to win primaries and go up there and beat our chest if they can't win general elections? Then it's just an exercise. And this is what I'm saying. Look, I couldn't feel more strongly about so many of these points, so many of these policy issues. But if you remember, in the wake of the joint address to Congress, there was all those, little snapshot postage stamps saying this S word ain't true. Mm-hmm. And it was, 20-something members of the Senate Congress. That polled horribly. CNN, NBC, Quinnipiac. It took away more Democratic support. The paddles, these things. Look, Jasmine Crockett's statements are entertaining for sure, but they lose us votes.
Why do you think that? I disagree.
Every poll says that. The three polls I just named all show that. Look, I'm not saying she's wrong and she's free to act however she wants to act, but it hurts the party. We need strategies. So to reverse the George Bush comment,
I disagree.
We need to nominate the most liberal. We need to nominate the most liberal people who can be elected and stand.
So who would you suggest?
Well, Jasmine is elected.
She is electable. She's been elected, and she actually does get. If you look at
maybe then you don't understand what I'm saying. I'm talking about these national big races where people need to come in. And I'm saying this on 45 years of doing this. I've seen this throughout a multitude of parts of the country. I happen to be a minority man. But to see these things come in, I've seen how they lost Hispanic support for decades now because it's just being unrealistic. I'm saying Jasmine Crockett can win in her district for sure. But the point is, if we don't have national policies that appeal to people that can put us in these national positions to get us a majority in the House, a majority in the Senate, and the White House, what good are any of them?
Karen?
Okay, first of all, who would you think would have been more electable than Kamala Harris? Because what I remember is that she was she has a career of winning and very good. Hold on. Hey.
6 months before the election,
hold on.
We were trying to figure out how to get her out.
Okay.
Who there? I don't know what that.
I'm not sure.
The Democratic National Committee, the DNC, 44% of members polled in the DNC said they would like to replace Kamala Harris
as vice president.
I'm not saying they should have. I'm not saying no, but as vice president, they were trying to figure out how to get her off the ticket.
Okay.
Joe Biden was clearly, she was polling horribly. And I'm not saying it happened. I'm saying there was a serious movement in the party. I don't have a problem with it. Listen, you're mistaken what I'm saying. I'm saying we need to figure out how to win elections.
Okay, so who do you think the candidate who do you think the candidate should have been? Because
you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. Her positions and our positions as a party need to be able to be supported by a bigger part of the policy.
Okay, so what I'm hearing a lot of criticism, but who would you have suggested would have that is polling better would have been the person in 108 days out?
Kamala Harris would have been a great candidate. The policies were wrong. The platform was wrong. And, of course, then the messaging, if you can sell anything if it's the right product.
Maury.
These are horrible products. They were rejected.
Maury, what policy did you particularly disagree with? What was it that... Okay, so let me ask you. Wait.
You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not saying I disagreed with them. I'm saying the voters disagreed with them.
I disagree with that too.
I do too. I mean, when you look at the popular vote, there was a 1.5%. We already talked about voters being purged.
And it should have been a runaway. She should have been a runaway.
Maury, are you not paying attention to what's going on in this country?
Yeah.
She didn't win because she's a she.
Yeah.
And she's black. That's the bottom line. That's it.
Listen, I understand that's your theory.
It's not a theory, babe. That's the truth.
Maybe even a hypothesis. But the point
true.
It's true.
The votes show that.
Yeah.
The people show that. That's true. I'm not going to argue with you about that.
I'm going on almost 4.5 decades of watching these policies.
Honey, babe, I got about 50. Okay, let's not talk about longevity.
Yeah.
Maury, thank you for calling. Thank you for calling, Maury. We're going to let you go. I got a couple of other calls. Thank you. Have a great weekend, Maury. Let's talk to Kurt.
Oh my gosh, what was that?
It was, I don't know, but I need something right now. Is it 5 o'clock somewhere?
Okay,
I got some vodka in my purse.
You know what? I want to say some of the policies that Kamala Harris brought up, and how are these policies that people hate? And Karen, I blue skied you on these too. Mm-hmm. A $6,000 first-year child tax credit to help pay for a crib, diapers, high chairs, all that stuff. Because that first year of life is the most expensive. This would have helped you, Karen. A $25,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers.
Yes.
Yeah. A $50,000 tax credit for startup businesses.
Yes.
And how about this one? Expanding Medicare to cover home health care so that your aging parents don't have to go somewhere where they don't have any dignity.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So how are people against that?
Right. That's not what they're against. They're against a woman being in the highest office of the land.
Oh, I know. But I was answering his question.
Yeah. Oh, no, Kurt, thank you for saying all of that. Because, I mean, I just think, too, the whole, the main message was freedom. It was all based on freedom, love. It was all based off of giving people a way out of poverty, giving people, like you say, some dignity in the end of life situations, easing the burden of aging parents and children with special needs and I mean
and
all
on
and on.
When you think about this, Barack Obama, he saw the hell his mother went through with health care when she was dying of cancer, and he swore if he ever was in a position of power, he was going to make that so that people didn't have to go through what his mother went through. Yep. Joe Biden, his son got brain cancer for being around burn pits and went through hell for 2 years or however long it was because of a war in Iraq. That's why we had the PACT Act, because Joe Biden did not want families in this country to go through the hell that his son, Beau, went through. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, Beau was the second son of the United States, so, there might have been something there. But overall, Joe Biden didn't want the people to have that kind of garbage in their lives that the Biden family had. Then Kamala Harris, she was the main caregiver when her mother was dying of cancer, and she knew just how important it was to find the proper clothing for her mother to wear so that she was comfortable. These are real-life experiences that these people in positions of power were going to use to make our lives better so that we didn't have to go through what they or their families had to go through before us. That's the whole point of I'm sorry?
No, I said absolutely. I agree with you.
And then, Karen, also, thank you for bringing up Midas Touch. I found those two things on the YouTube channel, and I sent them on your Blue Sky, too, so that people can see that hearing and then the Midas Touch commentary afterwards. So
are they still number one?
They still are number one.
That's great.
Yeah.
Are they number one?
Yeah.
They are.
Number one podcast.
Yes.
They beat out Joe Rogan.
They beat out Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. I think they dusted him.
TruBlu? Where's TruBlu? Is it number 1.5 or 2?
TruBlu. Oh, God bless you.
Yeah, we love to see, because, I mean, we have to go for alternative media at this point.
Yeah.
Because
and that's the other thing. 107 days versus 9 years.
Yeah.
Come on, to only lose by 1.5%.
Right.
That's a heck of a That's a heck of a
If
margin.
she did, exactly. And that's ignoring all of the, voter suppression and purging and
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, as far as the whole thing, who could we have had? I mean, Kamala Harris, I mean, I hate using the word heir apparent. I really do.
Right, but that's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I was always confused by the conversation, Kurt. I didn't understand why people were thinking of other people when it should have been her anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
I never understood it.
Order of succession.
Yes,
absolutely.
Right. And then here's the thing. Primaries are where you vote your conscience.
Right.
Elections are where you vote with the team.
That's right. We fall in line and then we fall in love, right? No, we fall in love and then we fall in line.
Right. And then I'll be honest, in 2020, my first choice was really Kamala Harris, but then she dropped out early before the primaries in 2019. So then my second choice was Pete Buttigieg, to be honest with you. Joe Biden was actually 4 or 5 down the list.
For me too. Same. For me too.
Yeah.
But by the time my primary in Ohio came around, Joe Biden was basically the nominee. So I just voted for Joe Biden.
Well, that's
because
that after was
Illinois,
Carolina, South Carolina.
That was our deal too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it was still a competitive race, I would have voted for Pete Buttigieg in the primary, but I knew Biden was going to be the nominee, so I knew, it would be a wasted primary vote. I would have voted for who I was in love with, like you said, but, it was beyond the primary by that point, and I had to go with the team.
Yeah.
Right. And, and you bring up, that really does raise the question, because I've heard a lot of people complaining that, she didn't run in a primary. People like complaining about the fact that there was no primary. We didn't elect, we didn't.
They were using every excuse.
But to that point. But normally, even when we do have primaries, by the time it gets around to some of, like Super Tuesday, it's already kind of a decided.
It's a wrap at that point.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you say technically, given the fact that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were already a ticket in 2024, and Joe Biden won unanimously in 2024, would you say by de facto Kamala Harris would have been the nominee because she was technically part of the primary, given the fact she was So I mean, this whole, basically what it is, a lot of the Democrats had a hair up their butt about something. They annoyed me. They really annoyed me. And I just wish the mainstream media would get off of their Donald Trump is bad for America, but great for our bottom line garbage. And just start reporting the truth.
Kurt,
and,
I actually think that that's a wrap for us with the media. I think that they are complicit.
Yes.
And I think they do it for money because they're not doing it for viewers at this point because most of them have lost a lot of their viewership because people have finally seen the light. And I'm talking about MSNBC, CNN, all that.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll give you a little quote. And this is during the Fairness Doctrine, obviously, before Reagan.
Yep.
Harry Truman used to say of the media, he liked the press because it was amazing what a fella could find out about himself that he never knew before.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Kurt, we got to take a break. And thank you so much for calling and rebutting our last caller.
Thank you, Kurt.
We appreciate you.
And getting our blood pressure back in check, right?
Well,
have a good weekend, Kurt.
Went up. All right, thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Jazzy D, don't hang up. We're going to come to you when we come right back, okay? We'll be right back.
Excuse me, miss. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you recommend a bank that offers a full suite of commercial banking products along with excellent service?
Yes, ABOC.
What about a bank that has been in Chicago for more than 100 years and really understands the local business climate?
ABOC.
But I manage a labor union. Can you recommend a bank that really understands how labor unions operate and what banking products they need?
Again, ABOC. ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922 and understands the local business climate better than anyone. ABOC was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders today. So they really understand how unions tick and how their needs may be different. But whether you're with a labor union or another type of business, whether you're large or small or something in between, ABOC will always make you feel like you're their most important customer. Visit ABOC.com to learn more.
Wow, thank you, random person on the street. I'm going to visit ABOC.com today.
Member FDIC.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820 AM. Filling in for Richard Chew, it's Michelle Peltier.
I can't help it. It makes me giggle every time.
I love it.
Does that make me arrogant? I hope not, because it's just so cute to me.
You feel seen.
I guess that's what it is.
That's
I
what
like
it is.
seeing my name in print, too.
Yeah.
That gives me, Anyway, welcome back. 773-763-9278. I don't know why I don't know that by heart. Catch us on Facebook Live, Twitter, TuneIn, SoundCloud.com, Heartland Signal, Digital Newsroom. All right. Remember, we've got a guest coming at the 7:30 half an hour, but right now, Jazzy D, is this my Jazzy D?
It is me.
Girl, where you been?
Well, out of the country.
Oh, okay. I'll give you a pass.
But in the mornings, my voice is not very strong. So I listen to Chew and I text him, but I do not actually call in.
Well, thank you for calling us this morning.
Always when you're on. So, and I join you in saying thank you, Kurt, because I was having what in Missouri and Kansas City we call the conniption.
Yeah. I brought that to Chicago. You know I did. Because I'm from Kansas City.
Okay. Yes. So I have to. So all these people who are saying well, first of all, when people started saying we need to go with somebody other than Kamala, Black women were real clear. If you step over her, you're losing us.
Yep, we were. Yes, we were.
To lose us meant you were going to lose us, not just for this one.
Yep.
I hold grudges. So you were going to lose me for the rest of my life.
Yep.
And you were going to lose everybody I know, because I would be doing to us, to the Democrats, what MAGA does with their children and grandchildren, and teaching them to hate the Democrats, because Democrats would, in my view, then be turncoats.
Yep.
So that's one. The other thing was, so the problem wasn't the policies. The problem is how and the vehicles through which the policies were communicated. There are parts of every community that listens to different things besides traditional media.
Yes.
And the people that were in charge of Kamala's media strategy had come from Joe Biden, and they didn't make adjustments. They didn't do things like buy time with Roland Martin.
Oh, yeah. That's true. It's very true.
You know, there are,
Jazzy D, I would agree with you that we do need to spend our efforts with different media outlets, and I do think that was a missed opportunity with the Roland Martin show and so many others like his. They have women that do them too, you being one of them. And that's where this is the future. This is it right now. That's pretty much all we got, right? So continue, Jazzy. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. And so moving forward so now, yes, develop a communication strategy that starts from the beginning. We have a few more months before we have to get on stride for the next election. And one of and this goes back to, and I'm using quotes, Kamala should, so-and-so should, blah, blah, blah should.
Yeah.
If Kamala had come forward early, she would be the problem. She would be the only thing that's covered.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't even know if we'd have heard about the tariffs.
Right.
And we might have only known that our 401ks were dipping because we happened to look at our statement.
Yep. Right.
Because they'd have said, Kamala's shoes, Kamala's giggle.
Yep.
And,
the laugh thing made me crazy, the laugh thing. Yeah. I don't like her laugh. Well, oh, my God. Okay. Jazzy D.
Right.
It's we're going to have to let you go.
I'm good.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Call in the show on Sunday.
I will. And tell Karen, I love Karen.
We all do, don't we?
She's a wonderful person. So thank you.
Thank you, Jazzy D. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Have a great weekend. Okay. Before I take the next call and our next guest that comes on at 7:30, I want everybody to. Everything's crazy right now. We're in our feelings. You're marinating in this stuff. I don't anymore. I keep myself aware because I feel like it's an obligation as an American and as a human being to do that because I don't want to walk around here ignorant. But I'm not marinating in it. I'm grateful for people like you, Karen, and Richard. I almost said a really bad word. I almost let an expletive fly. You were close to the button. Wow. Whew. Grateful for Richard because, he does that. Grateful for Eric Grant. Grateful for the station, right? Because you guys marinate in it. I did it this week, and it's hard. Yes. It's not easy to be a messenger in this time. Yeah. So I say that to say, before I take this next call and before we go to break, we all need to, as Richard say, take a breath and make your life count. But you also need to take a breath and do something for yourself.
Absolutely.
You need to detach.
Yeah.
We. And what did Kendrick Lamar say? Turn the TV off. So we need to turn the TV off. And I'm saying that to say, because I'm going to tell you about some great stuff that's happening this weekend so that, you guys, we all need to do something different. Just step away from it because we cannot continue on this journey, on this fight, if we don't reboot. And so this weekend, we have the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo coming in. We also, this is my favorite, we also have the Big Doc Energy Drag Brunch. Have you ever been to a drag brunch?
I did. Wait, what did we do? Oh, I did drag bingo.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, that's a blast, too. So if you ever want to do that, that's a lot of fun. I
have been to a drag brunch, and oh my gosh, I don't know why people have a problem. I think it's the most wonderful thing, and it's so much fun.
Talk about joy.
Right? Right. And so that's at Navy Pier Offshore, April 13th. Okay, so you guys, I spent a moment on that because I want people to really hear that there's a brunch going on. I got some more, but let's, because we're running out of time, let's talk to Victor. Good morning.
Hey, you guys.
Good morning,
What's going
Victor.
on? You guys are doing a great job today.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
I think we're spending too much time worrying about the next election because by then the government might be taken over completely by the Donald Trump autocracy, and we won't even need the vote.
Yeah.
The point is, it's Democrats are always united, and it's here's the problem. The problem is it's we the people against the billionaires. Mm-hmm. And like Donald Trump said, they're holding all the cards. Except let's hope that the people rise up. Right now, Donald Trump is trying to... there was a judge ruled that Donald Trump must return the person from Maryland that was illegally deported to the prison in El Salvador, right?
Yeah, I talked about that this morning. I don't think they're going to do it.
Well, yeah, the point is, I don't think they will either, but the point is the defense for Donald Trump, his attorney said once a person leaves the country, then they are no longer under U.S. law. And they said, Donald Trump, if you wanted to, he could deport immediately anybody, including a U.S. citizen, and take them to El Salvador. Yep. And there's nothing that the United States Justice Department can do anything about it. You know, that's about the worst case of dictatorship, you know, that you can possibly think of. I mean, he can take you or me or any citizen.
That's the scary part about it, right? Just swoop us up and we can't call anybody and nobody knows where we are. That's terrifying to me.
Yes.
Because I don't think anybody's exempt.
No,
but, you know,
nobody.
that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, you got Elon Musk destroying all of the benefits and programs and, you know, the different services that benefit the American people so he can give all that money to themselves and the billionaires and the corporations.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to fight.
I think we have to do it all, Victor. I mean, I think that we do have to, because we have to be positive and you know, with the court cases slowing some things down, you know, we do have a chance. So I don't think that we should ignore the next elections entirely. But I do agree. People have to be very clear-eyed about what this whole situation with them disappearing people and deporting people. And I was watching Lawrence O'Donnell last night for a few minutes, and this realization in his. Did you see that?
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we was like, that means me. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what this means. And so it kind of brings me back to that poem, you know, First They Came For. And that's exactly what it is. So, you know, to anybody watching this thinking that, well, that's them, that's what's happening to them, we don't have to be worried about that. No. They're getting around to you. They will get around to everybody eventually.
Everybody's on the list eventually, right?
Yep.
Victor.
Right. Even in Congress, they're targeting women now.
Oh, yeah.
Who are married, change their name.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Prevent them from voting.
Yep.
You know,
I know.
It's not. They're everywhere. They got a Republican think tank working like in 10 different directions at the same time. So we really have to be on our toes. But you know what? You're right. Learn to relax a little bit. And get out there, enjoy yourself this weekend.
Yes, you too, Victor. Thank you so much for the call, okay?
Hey, you guys.
Have a good one.
Ciao.
Okay, everybody, let's get ready for Dr. Allen, who will be joining us right after the break. Thank you for staying around, Karen.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get your second month free for a limited time. You'll get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month. Here's Veronica and Jackie, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
And now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free when they use promo code SECONDFREE. Just call, click, or bring us your bill and see how much you can save. Because when it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and use code SECONDFREE to get a free second month. Real people paid to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today with a high around 50 degrees. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 15. Then for tonight, mostly clear with a low near 35. Saturday, sunshine, a high around 60 degrees. Then by Sunday, a slight chance for rain, late cloudy, high of 67. Monday, slight chance for rain, high of 63. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 39.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
It's Chu's Views with Richard Chu. Filling in for Richard Chu, it's none other than the one and only Michelle Peltier.
Thank you, Devin. Welcome back, everybody. 773-763-9278 is the telephone number to catch us today. Look at you can find us on Facebook, Twitter stream, and TuneIn Radio. We need to take the Twitter thing off, probably, shouldn't we? I don't think you can find us on Twitter anymore, but I think it's coming back. Anyway, tickets are sold out. I'm so sorry for the May 3rd anniversary broadcast at Max and Benny's Restaurant in Northbrook. Are you going?
I'm going to be there.
You better be there, girl. But we hope you'll tune in that day between 11 and 3 to hear Hal Sparks, Patty Vasquez, Scott Duff, Joan Esposito, and Richard Chu broadcast live with special guests, including Karen. The event is sponsored by Max and Benny's, Fazio Insurance, Smart 265, the Democratic Party of Kane County, and the Southland Friends of Labor, the Democratic Party of McHenry County, and the McHenry County Democratic Women. I mean, saying that several times kind of got me tongue-tied a little bit there. So this morning we have a special guest, Dr. Where did I put his bio at? Because I know him, so I'm taking him for granted. You see. Thank you. Dr. Lionel Allen. He teaches a signature pedagogy course on cycles of injury, co-leads the full-year residency course for aspiring school teachers, and the second of 2 courses that are part of the instructional leadership sequence. Good morning, Dr. Allen. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me. Good to be with you this morning.
I'm so excited that you're here because I think about you a lot, especially when we talk about education in this country and what's happening and what's not happening. And we talked about your book on the family meeting. I should have told the audience that you are part of the family meeting radio show on Sundays. Right. But before we dig in deep, I just read something brief. You want to let our listening audience get to know you a little bit?
Sure. Again, thank you so much for having me, and good morning to you and to all your listeners and everybody behind the scenes that's making today's show happen. My name is Lionel Allen Jr., native Southsider. I'm a professor of educational policy studies at the University of Illinois at Chicago. I've been there since 2018, but I spent about 20 years in public K-12 education as a teacher, school administrator, and network leader. So I've spent the entirety of my professional life attached to the schoolhouse. I feel very fortunate to do something that I love to do and have done it for a long time. And now I have the blessing of being able to develop the next generation of school leaders. So essentially what I do is I train, teach, and provide leadership coaching to folks who are either leading schools now or aspire to lead schools in the near future.
Thank you so much. May I call you Lonnie?
Of course,
okay. Thank you so much. So now let's go back to my question. What are we going to do? What are your thoughts? And I want you to be really honest with our audience today.
Yeah. We're living in times of great uncertainty in many aspects of our lives, and education is one of those. So the fundamental rights that we have that's under attack, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And we knew this was coming. Anyone who read any excerpts of Project 2025 knew that the Trump administration was committed to eliminating the U.S. Department of Education as He believes that, education should be sort of overseen by states. And in some ways, that's right. Like the Constitution says that any power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people. So education and the management of schools is, in fact, a state responsibility. But we also know that we have a history in this country of states not providing equal access and opportunity to all citizens. Yep. And so the federal government, throughout history, but formally in 1980, when the U.S. Department of Education was established, has played a major role in protecting the rights of historically minoritized students and families, but also providing a great deal of funding to schools, supplementing state funding. And a lot of that funding goes directly to people who live in poverty. Mm-hmm. It goes to people who have disabilities. When we think about the Office of Civil Rights, which is an arm of the U.S. Department of Education, they make sure that students who have disabilities or English language learners, or again students who live below the poverty line, are provided with supplemental funding and access to programs so that they can have a robust, well-rounded educational experience. And so, we cannot rely solely on the states. The states have not shown us that they have the ability nor the willingness in some parts of our country to provide everyone with a high-quality, comprehensive educational experience. So we should be worried, right? We should be worried, but we also know that we have to organize. We have to come together. Educators have to be, as I put it, strategically subversive. They have to be willing to find ways to meet the needs of the children and families that they serve. And we might have to get creative and innovative because a lot of the support that we've gotten historically from the federal government, we probably won't have moving forward.
So, Lonnie, you are boots on the ground, right? So what suggestions? Yep. I know that we're saying we've got to get together to make things happen, but what specifically do you think educators can do right now? Especially, I don't know if you saw this, but a woman, she may have been in Iowa. She called a child by the name the child wanted to be called, and she got fired because where she lives, the city. Do you remember do you remember?
I know the story. I don't know where it was.
Yeah, and so things like that. How can an educator do the things that they need to do without losing their job? Because if they lose their jobs, then we lose that voice. So what advice do you have for this situation that we're in?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I did hear that story that the teacher referred to the student by their preferred name, and that was considered a violation, and they were dismissed from their position. Yep. We have to walk a fine line. I say all the time, even as a principal, there were times where I had to enforce a policy, or I had to take a approach to leadership, or I had to implement an idea that I wasn't necessarily 100% in favor of, and I had to find ways to filter it to the people that I was leading, and help them make connections to what we were already doing and how we can figure out how to make this work. This is a little bit different because we're talking about a situation where teachers have been given very direct sort of guidelines and rules that they have to follow. So my suggestion is, look, we have to find ways to continue to do the work that we know is important, but we have to do it within the guidelines that we've been given. And that's the difficulty because, look, the reality is this. A high-quality educator, someone who loves kids and is doing everything that they can to protect kids and provide a great educational experience to students, they are of no value if they are fired from their jobs because they did not follow the policy, right? And so while folks don't want to hear this, the harsh reality is if your local community has said, right, that we cannot refer to students by their preferred names, so we have to operate within these boundaries, then you got to operate within those boundaries while also at the same time trying to figure out how can I continue to make kids comfortable and speak to the reality of the situation. Like, look, here's what I'm faced with, but I'm still committed to doing what's right for kids, and I'm going to make sure that I hold on to my job for as long as I can, while figuring out ways. And educators, we have to be creative because we've always operated with not enough funding. We've always operated with constraints placed upon us that make our jobs very difficult. So we have a history of being able to respond to policies and legislation that, again, aren't necessarily in accordance with how we see education and what we think is best for our kids. So we have to continue to operate with that same level of creativity and innovation and say, okay, well, fine. If I can't refer to a kid by their preferred name, okay, that's fine. But I'm going to find other ways to affirm the identity of this student, right? I'm going to make sure that I prioritize establishing relationships with my students. I'm going to use this as a teachable moment and explain to my children, the children that I'm serving, the children that I'm teaching, what are some of the challenges that we're facing as educators and how I'm working to make sure that I can follow those policies and honor the law that has been set or the legislation that has been passed, but at the same time, I'm also going to pour into you and make you feel wanted and needed and heard and valued and make you feel like a human being. Because a lot of these things that we're seeing, particularly in this case, is really an attack on a child's humanity. Right? And it's unfortunate that we don't see it that way, that this, in my opinion, this is bigger than just an educational issue. This is an issue of whether or not we see the inherent humanity in every child, in every community, and the families that we serve. And when we fail to acknowledge that, we allow these types of things to happen in our schools.
Wow. Do you have a question, Karen? Lonnie, let me just introduce you to my guest this morning, Karen Byrne.
I'm Karen Byrne, and I'm a hanger-on this morning. But I have to say, what you just said just really hit home with me. I have a trans son, and I'm going to get a little weak. And he is 27, and when he was 16, came out as trans. Okay. And the high school, thankfully, the community that I raised my kids in and the high school that my kids went to had all of the programs in place and policies in place that, to be supportive to the LGBTQ community in general. Great. But specifically, my son was able to change his name with the school, although not legally. And I'm going to tell you, I truly believe, my child has always known unconditional love, and within my family, the acceptance was immediate. That's not to say there isn't a process, but I have to wonder, and we know that there are so many children out there that don't have that, and the suicide rate is the highest among some of these children. And I push out the darkest thoughts in my mind where my child would have been emotionally had it not been for the policies at the high school. I'm not going to name the high school now because I don't want to say it on the air, but for obvious reasons. But that is, so I'm thinking as you're speaking that could go away, and so the same community that my child, right? I mean, it just, it's. Yeah,
it is. It can go away, and it is going away, unfortunately. Yeah. And at the end of the day, this is what really troubles me. Look, we know that we are never going to agree with every piece of legislation or every policy, that we are confronted with as educators. I mean, that's been my professional life story. But as I said before, this is so much bigger than policy. We're talking about kids' lives. We're talking about their self-esteem. We're talking about whether or not they feel loved and cared for in our schools. And my heart breaks when I think about children who go to school every day and feel othered, that feel pushed to the margin, who aren't allowed access to the full depth and breadth of the academic experience, because I know the impact that school had on my life. Right? And I believe to my core that school saved me. I had great teachers. I had great administrators. I had people who poured into me. And I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you if not for the school. And every child should have that same experience. And to think that we have politicians and board members who don't believe that every child should have that experience, and they will never say it. They'll never say that I don't believe all children should have access to a high-quality education. They'll never say that I don't think that every child should feel supported and cared for in their schools. But then they go and they support policies and they support practices that rip the humanity out of our schools. That's what this is about.
That's true.
Right? That's what this is about. And so, our children in our country, they have to go to school by law. Education is compulsory. I think until the age of 16 in most places.
Yeah.
Imagine being forced to go to a place where you don't see yourself in the curriculum, you don't see yourself in the experience, you don't see yourself in the teachers who teach you, and people make you feel like you are less than. And so many children, right, feels that way. And we're talking about before the attack on the U.S. Department of Education. This has been happening to black and brown kids for generations. This has been happening to LGBT kids for generations. It's been happening to poor white kids forever, right? And so now we know it's been happening anecdotally, and now people are now have the law, they have policy, they have endorsed practices now to say, well, look, I can't do this. They never really wanted to do it in the first place. I can't refer to a child by their preferred name. Like, I can't implement a curriculum that is culturally responsive. I can't talk about the evils of slavery. Well, they never really wanted to do it anyway. And now, now they have policy. Now they have, in some places they have legislation.
Yeah, taking the books, all that. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Lonnie, thank you so much for being here. Before you go, you want to plug your book, your fabulous book?
Yeah, sure. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate the conversation. So my new book is called Lead with Care, Strategies to Build Culturally Competent and Affirming Schools. And in the book, I make the argument that as an educational community, we focus too much on outcomes. We focus far too much on results and not enough on the academic experiences that students are having. And so if we create cultures that are built upon the pillars of culture, responsiveness, affirmation, relationships, and empowerment, and we create these positive school cultures, the students will love being in school and the results will take care of themselves. So it's a call to action to focus on creating positive learning environments for students and not focusing so harshly on educational outcomes and quantifiable metrics.
Dr. Allen, you are the man. Okay.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Come see us on Sunday sometime, okay?
Absolutely. Take good care. Bye-bye.
All right. You have a good day and a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Right. Yes. Oh. And it really, the position that these educators are being put in, where, and I hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
So as he was speaking, I was thinking about, Columbia College. Now they're going after Cornell. They're going after all of these.
Didn't they go Northwestern or something? Or if they're going to take their money away?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so the position that they're putting all of these people that got into education because they cared. They cared. And the thing of it is, how does that help this country?
Well, they don't care about the country.
They don't care. And that... Michelle, I keep saying all of this makes sense. When people say it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, with what he's doing with the economy and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
The tariffs and everything. And I'm like, it totally makes sense if you understand that he's doing the bidding of Putin.
I mean, they're like locusts, right? They want to come in because think about it. They don't have an ounce of respect for our government, for the White House. I mean, now they're in Congress and they're in the, they're in the Senate. They're wearing hats in the chamber. Wearing hats.
Yeah.
They don't have any respect at all. They don't care about it. They're in there to get what they can get while they can get it.
Right.
And then they're going to bounce.
Yep.
And we're all suffering, and they're going to ride off into the sunset with all the money.
How much money did Marjorie Taylor Greene make? Did you see, too, he had the NASCAR drivers and Charles Schwab?
Yeah.
Did you see that video?
Yes.
That is infuriating to me.
Oh, my gosh.
Standing there talking about how he just made $2 billion.
Yeah. It's
that's what's
topsy-turvy,
here.
but I think really that if we all get to the point to understand, because that's how we learn to combat it, is when we learn the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is they don't give up. They just don't care.
No.
So now we have to decide how to armor up and do what we need to do to combat people who just don't care.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a hard enemy to fight.
So
you know,
hard.
when some people just don't care, it's like, I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know.
How
do you fight that?
I don't know. Before we go, I have one more event to tell you about for this weekend. Black Girl Magic Shy. Excited about that. Immerse yourself in vibrant celebration of Black Girl Magic Shy on April 12th at Morgan Manufacturing, where hundreds of Black women will gather for a day filled with music, movement, and empowering connections. All the events that I talked about today, you can find them online. Karen? Girl?
do we? Yeah. So, yeah.
Let me do one more thing, and then it's you and me.
Okay.
Okay. If you haven't already, you can follow Heartland Signal on. They have X on here. Why is that there? On Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at Heartland Signal. And be sure to check out heartlandsignal.com for daily updates. Stephanie Miller is next, followed by Tom Hartman. And the Saving the Best for Last, Joan Esposito Live, local and progressive from 2 to 5. And Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez from 5 to 7, both Central Time. WCPT, the Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And before we sign out and before Karen and I chat, I want to make sure I get this in. Thank you all these last 3 days for calling in and being so welcoming and kind. I'm saying this because it's true that Richard has some great, really smart and dedicated listeners and guests. It's been an honor for me to be here, to be with you today and share my craziness and whatever's going on with my voice. But I want the audience to know that as much as you care about Richard, he cares that much about you. That's why he's here every day. That's why he does what he does. He's truly a warrior for good. So let's all thanks to Richard, and thank you for allowing me to be here and not calling Henry and going, get her off the air. That may have happened. I'm just not quite sure.
Right. No, everybody's
Don't we have a best of?
Right. I also want to thank all of the guests these last 3 days: Kurt Mullett, Yolanda Andrazo, Eileen Fugel, Woodstock Councilmember Natalie, our girl Natalie Ziemba, and of course you, Karen, and Dr. Lionel Allen. So it's my first time really interviewing people on the air.
You did a great job.
I appreciate everybody's patience and understanding, and hope that I did okay and asked some good questions. The good thing is I'm really nosy. I'm very curious. So I it's getting them out, but they're living in my head, right? So I hope that I answered some questions or helped people get some questions answered during the interviews that we had. And I cannot leave here without thanking Henry. Come on, Henry. Thank you so much. You've been such a joy.
No, thank you. It's been great working with you.
It's been so much fun. You're a good egg. Real good egg.
You too. You're good people.
I love your hair. Right? I talk about his hair all the time. And last time when I came, he had it pulled back. And all these 3 days, he's had it flowing and beautiful. Yes. I am a hair girl.
I am too.
So thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Karen. What's going on with you this weekend?
Okay, well, this weekend, not too much. I am going to look for some protests.
Yeah. What's going on the 19th?
The 19th, there's going to be another mass protest, hopefully.
Okay.
It gets some of the numbers that we had before.
Yeah.
And
it's an everything protest like the last one?
Yep. So
I like those. You get some great signs out of those.
You do.
I love
Definitely do. The signs
Yeah.
are amazing. And we need bodies out in the streets, obviously.
Yep.
Stay safe.
Yep.
Stay safe. And I know that, and look, if the bottom line is this, we all have to be doing something. So even if that's not your thing, call your representatives. If I'm doing boycotting. I haven't shopped at Amazon. I haven't shopped at Target. And believe me, that's not easy. I mean, it takes a little extra time and work to kind of figure things out. But, we have to, support the companies like Costco standing up against the dictator.
I think that this kind of thing, Eric Grant says this all the time. He says we need to apply fiscal violence.
Yes.
And I think that maybe that's the only power we have right now. That and getting out in the streets, making phone calls and doing that kind of thing.
Black-owned businesses.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Almost said another expletive. Is it time to go, honey? Because I let the expletives fly. I need to let it out.
Yeah. If you don't want to do a lot of homework, just look. Where I live, right in the community next door, there's a whole string of businesses that have the signs up, Black-owned business.
Yeah.
And so I am supporting those businesses.
Yes, and let me tell you, if you are a Black-owned business, as I am as well, let people know, right? Let people know. It's almost time to go. Be sure to join Eric Grant and his sidekick, that's me, on the family meeting Sundays from 4 to 6 right here on WCPT. You guys have a great weekend. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Henry.
Thanks for having me.
We are out.
Henry.
This is Tony Moray. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is morayLawOffice.com. That's Moray spelled M-O-R.